Hello, English learners, and welcome to English Stories for Fluency. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. My name is Paul, and on this channel, we explore ways to make learning English natural, enjoyable, and truly effortless. Today, we're diving into a topic that many of you have asked about: how to talk in English without pausing. Have you ever felt that awkward silence when you're trying to speak English and the words just don't come? Or maybe you find yourself stopping frequently, trying to think of the next word. Well, if that sounds familiar, then this video is just for you. We're going to spend about 15 minutes together talking about practical ways to improve your fluency and speak English more smoothly without those long pauses. The goal isn't perfection. It's about building confidence and letting your English flow naturally. So find a comfortable spot, relax, and let's explore how to keep your English conversations moving. The challenge of pausing. Many English learners experience pauses when speaking. This is a very common challenge, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. When we speak in our native language, the words often come out without much thought. But in English, especially when you're still learning, your brain is doing a lot of work. It's trying to remember vocabulary, apply grammar rules, think about pronunciation, and understand what the other person is saying, all at the same time. This intense mental activity can sometimes lead to those moments of silence as your brain searches for the right words or phrases. But imagine if you could reduce those pauses, making your conversations feel more natural and confident. That's what we're aiming for today. We're going to spend about 15 minutes together talking about practical ways to improve your fluency and speak English more smoothly without those long pauses. The goal isn't perfection. It's about building confidence and letting your English flow naturally. So find a comfortable spot, relax, and let's explore how to keep your English conversations moving. The challenge of pausing. Many English learners experience pauses when speaking. This is a very common challenge, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. When we speak in our native language, the words often come out without much thought. But in English, especially when you're still learning, your brain is doing a lot of work. It's trying to remember vocabulary, apply grammar rules, think about pronunciation, and understand what the other person is saying, all at the same time. This intense mental activity can sometimes lead to those moments of silence as your brain searches for the right words or phrases. But imagine if you could reduce those pauses, making your conversations feel more natural and confident. That's what we're aiming for today. We're going to talk about strategies that help you keep the conversation flowing even when you're not perfectly sure what to say next. Understanding why we pause. Before we dive into the solutions, let's briefly understand some common reasons for pausing. Searching for vocabulary. This is probably the most common reason. You know what you want to say in your native language, but you can't recall the English word. Grammar concerns. You might be unsure about the correct tense, prepositions, or sentence structure, leading you to hesitate. Lack of practice. If you don't speak English often, your brain isn't as quick at retrieving information or forming sentences. Fear of mistakes. Many learners pause because they're afraid of saying something wrong or sounding awkward. This fear can often be a bigger barrier than actual language knowledge. Translating in your head. If you're constantly translating from your native language into English before speaking, it naturally slows you down. It's important to remember that these are all normal parts of the language learning journey. But with consistent practice and the right approach, you can significantly reduce these pauses. Tip 1. Embrace filler words wisely. Now, this might sound counterintuitive, but one of the quickest ways to reduce awkward silence is by using what we call filler words. These are small words or phrases that native speakers use all the time to give themselves a moment to think without completely stopping the conversation. Think of phrases like, like, well, let me see. Actually, so...
For example, instead of a long silence, you could say, I went to the store and I bought some fruit. Or, what do I think about that? Well, it's an interesting question. The key here is to use them naturally and not overuse them. The goal is to bridge gaps, not to replace actual communication. Listen to native speakers in movies, podcasts, or conversations, and notice how they use these fillers. They help maintain the flow of conversation and make your speech sound more natural, even as your brain processes what to say next. Tip 2. Focus on fluency over accuracy initially. This is a crucial mindset shift. When you're trying to talk without pausing, your primary goal should be to keep the words coming, not to ensure every single sentence is grammatically perfect. Many learners get stuck trying to construct the perfect sentence in their head before speaking, which leads to long pauses. Imagine you're having a conversation. The other person usually cares more about understanding your message than about whether you used the perfect tense. It's much better to say something slightly imperfect but keep the conversation going than to pause for a long time trying to be perfect. Think of it like riding a bicycle. When you first learn, you focus on keeping the bike moving, even if you wobble a bit. If you stop to analyze every pedal stroke, you'll fall over. It's the same with speaking English. Keep moving forward even if you make small wobbles or mistakes. You can refine your accuracy later. For now, prioritize getting your message across. Tip 3. Think in English. One of the biggest reasons for pausing is translating in your head. When you hear something in English, translate it to your native language, formulate a response in your native language, and then translate it back to English. It creates a significant delay. To reduce this, start practicing thinking in English. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect from day one. Start small. Narrate your day to yourself in English. As you're doing chores, walking, or commuting, describe what you're doing or seeing in English. I am walking to the kitchen. I need to make some coffee. Or think about your plans. Tomorrow, I will wake up early and go for a run. Or describe objects around you. Look at something and think about its English name, its color, its purpose. The more you practice thinking in English, the faster your brain will connect thoughts directly to English words and phrases, bypassing the translation step. This will naturally reduce your pauses when speaking.
Tip 4. Use simple sentences. Sometimes we try to construct very complex sentences in English, just like we might in our native language. But especially when you're aiming for fluency, keeping your sentences simple can be incredibly effective. Instead of trying to say, due to the unforeseen circumstances that arose during the early morning hours, I was unable to complete the task that had been assigned to me yesterday. You could simply say, something happened this morning, so I couldn't finish my task. Simple sentences are easier to form quickly, reducing the likelihood of pausing to think about complex grammar. As your confidence and fluency grow, you can gradually add more complexity. Start with clear, direct communication. The goal is to convey your message, and simple sentences do that very effectively. Tip 5. Listen actively and respond naturally. Active listening is a superpower for reducing pauses. When you truly listen to the other person, you'll not only understand them better, but also find it easier to formulate your response. Many learners are so focused on what they are going to say next that they don't fully absorb what's being said to them. This can lead to delays in their response because they might have missed a key part of the conversation. When you listen, pay attention to key words, the general meaning, and even the speaker's tone. Don't try to translate everything, just try to grasp the main idea. And when it's your turn to speak, don't feel pressured to have an immediate, profound answer. It's perfectly fine to say things like, "That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that. Could you explain that a bit more? I need a moment to think about that." These phrases keep the conversation flowing and buy you a little extra time to formulate a more detailed response if needed. Tip 6. Practice speaking aloud regularly. You don't always need a conversation partner to practice speaking without pausing. Speaking aloud to yourself regularly is an incredibly powerful technique. Here are some ways you can do it. Read aloud. Pick an English book, an article, or even a script from a movie and read it aloud.
Focus on reading smoothly without stumbling over words. Shadowing. This is where you listen to a native speaker from a podcast, video, or audio and try to repeat exactly what they say as closely as possible at the same time they are speaking. This helps you mimic their rhythm, intonation, and speed, and trains your mouth and brain to produce English more quickly.
Describe pictures. Find a picture online or in a magazine and describe everything you see in it in English. Try to do it for 1 to 2 minutes without pausing. Talk about your day. At the end of each day, spend a few minutes talking about what you did, what you saw, and how you felt, all in English. The more you practice speaking aloud, even to yourself, the more comfortable your mouth and brain will become with forming English words and sentences quickly and automatically. This builds muscle memory for speaking. Tip 7. Don't fear mistakes. They are your teachers. This is perhaps the most important point of all. The fear of making mistakes is a huge barrier to fluency and a major cause of pausing. When you're constantly worried about being wrong, your brain slows down, trying to perfect every word before it leaves your mouth. But here's the truth. Everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. Mistakes are a natural and necessary part of learning. They show that you're trying, that you're pushing your boundaries. Think of them as feedback. When you make a mistake, it's an opportunity to learn and improve. Change your mindset from "I must not make mistakes" to "I am going to speak, and if I make a mistake, I will learn from it." The more you embrace mistakes, the more willing you'll be to speak freely, and the fewer pauses you'll experience. Don't let the pursuit of perfection stop your progress. Focus on communication, not flawless grammar. Tip 8. Expand your conversational connectors. Just like filler words, conversational connectors are phrases that help you link ideas smoothly and keep the conversation flowing. They are more structured than fillers and serve a specific purpose in connecting your thoughts. Examples include adding information, furthermore, in addition, moreover, also, and then, contrasting ideas, however, on the other hand, but, nevertheless, giving examples. For example, for instance, such as sequencing, first, next, then, finally. Expressing opinion. In my opinion, I think that, I believe that. Summarizing. In conclusion, to sum up. Overall. By having a repertoire of these connectors ready, you can smoothly transition between ideas without pausing. For instance, if you've just talked about one point and you want to introduce a contrasting one, you can naturally say, however, on the other hand, this shows you're thinking, but also that you're prepared to continue. Practice using these connectors in your speaking and writing. The more familiar you become with them, the more naturally they will come to you in conversation. Putting it all together, your daily fluency practice. To truly talk in English without pausing, you need consistent practice. Here's how you can integrate these tips into your daily routine, even if you only have a few minutes. Morning warm-up for 5 minutes. As you get ready, try narrating your actions in English. I'm brushing my teeth. I need to make breakfast. What should I wear today? Don't worry about perfection, just keep talking. Commute or downtime listening, 10 to 15 minutes. Listen to an English podcast or watch a short English video. Try to shadow what you hear for a few minutes. If you hear a phrase you like, repeat it. Throughout the day, small moments. If you find yourself having a thought in your native language, try to quickly rephrase it in English. Use filler words like or well if you need a moment. Evening review, 5 minutes. Talk about your day in English. Today, I went to work. It was busy. I met a friend for coffee. Focus on speaking continuously, even if you keep it simple. Remember, consistency is far more important than intensity. Short, daily bursts of practice will lead to much better results than trying to cram everything into one long session once a week. The journey to effortless English. Learning to talk in English without pausing is a journey, not a destination. There will be days when it feels easier and days when it feels more challenging. That's perfectly normal.
The key is to keep practicing, stay positive, and celebrate every small step forward. You are already capable of amazing things, and learning English is just another skill you're mastering. Embrace the process, have fun with it, and trust that with patience and consistent effort, your English will flow more smoothly and confidently than you ever imagined. Thank you so much for joining me today on English Stories for Fluency. I hope these tips help you feel more confident and motivated in your English learning journey. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember, you've got this. See you in the next video. Bye for now.